Hey everyone, thanks for joining. So I wanted to talk about this topic today because I see it all the time. I used to do the same thing. I see it often in my group, and I also see it with my one-on-one coaching that I do. And asking yourself the whys behind the reasons you do some of these things, especially with food and exercise, are really going to be a key step in breaking you free from this food obsession. And people are like, well, I do this all the time, right? And I'm like, sort of, but you technically focus a little bit more on the how, like the how-to and everything. Like, how am I supposed to change? How can I change? How can I break free from this? How come I'm still stuck in this? How am I supposed to do this? And it's a common thing. Everyone wants the how-to. Everyone wants sort of the step-by-step process to try and break free from this, which you will get, right? But that's almost step 2. But the first step you really have to do is ask yourself the tough questions, like why? Why do I feel the need to control everything? Why, when I am seriously hungry right now, am I choosing to restrict? Why am I turning to food when I am sad, lonely, happy, depressed, frustrated, angry? Like, why? Why do I choose to try and kill myself in a extreme workout every day when I am so exhausted? You know what I mean? Like, asking yourself the whys are hard. Like, it makes you get emotional, it makes you get vulnerable, it makes you go to places you probably don't want to really go, but that is going to be the key step in breaking you free from this. And I get it. Everyone wants the how-tos. I wanted the how-tos. How much, like, I seriously Googled some of this stuff for forever. And what did I do? Like, if I found a how-to on how to do some of these things and I tried it, I'm like, it's not working. And then I get frustrated. It's because I didn't ask myself the why. Why am I choosing to still do this? What is going on in my life right now that I am being stuck in this? And it's a thing you almost have to ask yourself every day. Like, this isn't something that you can find the trick to overnight and then never have to deal with it again, because that's an unfortunate, it's not going to happen, because life happens. And I am one to tell you, for 15 years I struggled with this, and I am now free from it. But that doesn't mean that I don't think about it. It doesn't mean that things come up in my life that piss me off, that I get stressed, that I get frustrated, and I want to turn to some of these things. Like, I still think about it. These thoughts do come into play, but I know that I don't let them consume me, because I know exactly what happens if I do. And the moment that we can ask ourselves the whys, why did this start? Why am I still stuck? Why, when I know sort of everything that I need to know, like, I know that I shouldn't be restricting myself. I know that I should love my body. I know that I should be able to eat the things that I want to. I know that I shouldn't restrict calories like that. I know I should not have so much guilt after eating these foods. Like, we always know these things. Some of this stuff can seem like common sense, and that's why people who don't struggle with it are like, why don't you just change? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? How come you can't do this? How come you can't do that? Why don't you just stop thinking that way, right? And I wanted to be like, that's not it. Like, that's not the case. That, unfortunately, it's not that simple. A lot of times people think that this could be sort of a chemical imbalance in our brains and things like that. And like, how come some people in my family don't suffer from this, but I do? And it's not always a part of that. It's just that we found this coping mechanism in regards to be food, and we use that to try and help survive in life. And unfortunately, we go into this survival mode, and instead we need to just live, right? We need to be able to, we aren't surviving, we're just trying to live and break free from that. So the how-tos are awesome. The how-tos can be very helpful once you look into what is causing you to be sort of stuck in this mentality. And once you can look deep in that, and that's when you can really ask yourself the why questions that are hard, you break free from it. You really do. And this is exactly the kind of thing that I help my clients with my one-on-one coaching, because everyone wants the how-tos. Everyone wants to be able to have this happen overnight, to be able to not have to suffer with this one moment longer. And trust me, I don't want you to have to do that. But when you don't focus on what is deep within and what is like the root cause of this, you will be stuck for a long time, and you might not be able to break free from it forever. You might have these short-term fixes. You might be like, you know what, for a couple months I did actually really well. I ate well, I didn't feel guilty, and then something may have triggered you. You could have just been out and about and you hear people talking about how they want to lose weight, how they don't love themselves. Or you went shopping one day and you put on an item of clothing and it really messed with you, and it triggered this remembrance of how much you don't potentially like yourself, and then you now restrict, or you now binge, or you emotionally eat, or things like that. So that's why I need to get down to the root cause with you guys, and that's why I need you to be able to do that too, because then the stuff is going to stick. Then this stuff is going to be lasting and long term, and that's what you want. You don't want to be stuck in this. Think of it, like, what would your life truly look like 5 years from now if you did not change what's going on right now? Think for a little bit. What would that actually look like? If I would have kept going down, sorry, I made it on my face. If I would have kept going down the path that I was on, I don't know if my marriage would have survived, because I was choosing food over everything. We were getting fights a lot. We weren't being very intimate ever, because I was choosing to go to sleep to make sure that I got enough sleep to wake up in time to have CrossFit. Because if I didn't have CrossFit, then my life and that day would be ruined, because I wouldn't have burned enough calories for the food that I said that I was going to be eating, right? So that was a main thing for me. In 5 years, I probably wouldn't have been wanting to try and start a family, because I still would have been extremely unhappy with myself enough that I wouldn't felt confident enough to be able to allow myself to be pregnant, to be able to like gain weight and not have this fear behind it, and to not be so extremely scared of what was going to be like to become pregnant and be a mom and things like that. I probably wouldn't have been where I am right now in terms of a career. I wouldn't be able to turn my struggles into successes and help coach others to get there too. I wouldn't have done that. I would have just been very, very sad and depressed, and I would have just kept asking myself, how come I can't do this? Instead of, why am I choosing to be stuck in this life? Why am I so fearful of change? Why do I have this desire to want to better myself, but then in 2 seconds totally take that back and stay where I am and be like, nope, not today. I can't do it. Why? Why would I choose to do that? And it really comes down to the stories that you've told about yourself. Like anything, and I talk about this all the time, like anything that you've told yourself in terms of your story, which is not ever really true, because it's not serving you well at all. They're lies. But they feel so real, right? They feel real, and they feel scary when you have to try and change them, when you have to try and create a new story and take that step forward, or go to the other side that is the land of the unknown, because you don't know what's going to happen. That stuff is scary. But do you really enjoy living the life that you are right now? Do you really enjoy having to be consumed by all of these thoughts of food? Like seriously, when I was in my deepest days here in this, I would feel as though I was doing fine, because I was eating healthy, right? But then what happens if I had a cheat meal? What happens if I went out to eat? What happens if someone asked me to go out to eat for lunch, or if someone invited me to a party? I would say no, I would freak out. Or if I went and ate some of those foods that were a fear food or a forbidden food or not healthy, processed, or whatever the hell you want to call it, I'd feel so guilty afterwards. I'd feel so shameful. And then what would happen? I restrict again. And then you go into these cycles of potentially restricting and then binging or emotionally eating. And then just feeling the guilt and shame and body shaming and just hating yourself for it. Is that really worth it? Do you really want to keep living in that life? No, you don't. This is why it feels so wrong, and it feels so wrong to be able to live like this, or it feels like you question everything, and you ask yourselves always, how come I can't break free from this? How come I can't be successful in this? Because you need to ask yourself, why do you feel like you need to be stuck in here? Why do you want to not break free from this? Why are you so scared of change? Like I said, these questions really need to be asked. And the answers are sometimes tricky and hard and scary. But even though it's scary, do it anyways, right? Because life is going to throw you some curveballs, and it's not going to be all unicorns and rainbows from here on out. You're going to come into challenges all the time. And you want to have these tools sort of in your back pocket. So when stuff gets tough and challenging, is that you can pull them out and make sure that you are not going to be going down that path that kept you stuck for so long and unhappy and unfulfilled and just not loving life. That's what these tools are meant for, because you are going to have to come across these things often. And for me, I talked about this. I had my miscarriage almost 3 weeks ago. And, I just went in for an appointment for a checkup, and it's not all done yet. I have to go through this process again. I have to take the medication again to force my body to let go of what it keeps wanting to hold on to. And it sucks. This stuff is sad. And I didn't know if I'd actually make it through this video without crying, because it's an emotional thing for me. But it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad through this. But knowing that you are not going to let yourself go down that path that you hated for so long, that's a key step in this. So for me, when I found out that I had to do this again, this isn't over. I'm still moving on, but it's still stuck with me with this miscarriage type thing. I had the initial reactions to want to restrict, to want to control what's going on, because it sort of feels like my life is not in control. I wanted to potentially go and just indulge in all of the food I could possibly eat in a 5-minute span to try and numb some of these painful feelings, right? So when these initial reactions come into play, you have to be able to ask yourself why. And I did. Why am I all of a sudden wanting to restrict? Because this shit's sad. This stuff is sad. And I don't want to feel the sadness. But the thing is, I have to feel the sadness in order to move on from it. Because if you allow yourself to keep going down the path where, say you're going to emotionally eat or restrict or binge eat or over-exercise or calorie count or constantly weigh yourself, if you go down these paths and then you don't ask yourself why, you're going to just be stuck in that. The thing is that I know exactly why I choose to do these things, or why I would choose to do these things, because I said I don't do them any longer. I've broken free from it, but that doesn't mean the thoughts don't come back into my mind. And it can be almost a little tempting thing. But I know that I want to keep living. I know that I want to keep going down the path that I'm at now, because I'm the happiest I've ever been. Even with sadness for today and what's been going on the past month or so, I'm still the happiest that I've ever been, because I know that this stuff doesn't control me. I know that I can break free from it, and that I have, and that I continue to live, and I continue to do what I love, even though life has been throwing me curveballs. that's okay, because it builds character, it builds strength, it builds courage. Like, this is stuff that you don't have to let it bring you down. Even though you can be sad, just because you're sad, just because you're upset, you're angry, disappointed, frustrated, things like that, that doesn't mean that you're a failure. That doesn't mean that, you've sort of fallen back. It just means that you're human. We're all human in all of this. We have feelings. There's a reason why there's so many feelings out there. It's because you need to feel them. You don't need to suppress them. You don't need to numb them. You don't need to try and forget about them. You need to feel them, because then you can move on from them. And the moment you can ask yourself the why in all of this, oh, it's a hard question. They're hard questions. No one wants to ask the why. But it's so important, and it is a true key step into breaking free from this. So when you come into these certain situations where you tend to, like, you're noticing that you're asking yourself the how questions all the time, like, how come I'm so stuck here? How come I know that I'm not supposed to be so guilty after eating these foods, but I am. How come I can't change this? How am I supposed to change this? Try asking yourself the whys. Why am I so fearful if I eat this food? Why am I so scared about not being able to work out today? Like, what's going to happen if I don't? These questions, they will so help you. And they're hard, but they will help you, because trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. If my clients can do it, you can do it. Alrighty? Like I said, I really wanted to talk about this because I see this all the time, and I know it's not the most interesting topic, so to speak, but it is one that is extremely necessary in order to break you free from this. So I wanted to also talk about it today because I noticed, like I told you, with this miscarriage, and I'm having to do this whole process again, like 3 weeks later, is shitty, to say the least, in all of it. And I was going into that mindset where I was going like, oh, how come I have to do this again? How come? And the how comes, right? The how-tos. And I initially had the reaction to want to restrict food, because even though I was hungry, I didn't want to allow myself to eat that because I was suffering and just sort of struggling a little bit inside. But I recognize it because, like I said, I have these tools in my back pocket that I realized when I'm doing these things, and then I don't allow myself to continue down that path. Right? I talked about this before, where how to stop these negative self-talks and what to do when they first come in your mind. That's when they're the weakest. So when they first come into my mind that I am wanting to restrict at the moment, that's when they're the weakest. And that's when I know that the why behind it is because I didn't want to feel it. And I didn't want to feel this sadness, but I know I have to in order to move on from it. So that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I want you guys to be able to do too, is to be able to ask yourself these important why questions so you can break free and move on and be able to just breathe again, right? Like just being able to go and then just allow yourself to live and allow yourself to not be bombarded by these constant thoughts of food or calorie counting or the reasons why you still are sort of stuck in this. I just want you to breathe and move on and move past it. All right? If this resonates with you, if you have questions about it, if you're like, what? How am I supposed to ask myself these why questions? I don't even know where to begin. That's what I'm here for, all right? So with my group, I have that support group with Eat Freely to Live Freely, but I also do the one-on-one coaching because this is what my passion is in life. I help women break free from this food obsession so they do not have to live in this sort of hellhole that they're in any second longer. Alrighty, so if any of this resonates with you, if you have questions, reach out, ask. I'd love to help. This is what I'm here for, alright? And until I see you again, until I do these videos again, enjoy yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some patience. Be compassionate to you, right? We always look to others and we always sort of are able to be nice and compassionate and passionate with others, but we have to be able to do it to ourselves, which is the hardest, I understand. But it is very necessary and important. Alrighty? So, enjoy the rest of your day today. And it's weird because the lighting in my video keeps changing all the time. This is where my ADD comes into play and I just keep getting sidetracked by it. But anywho, enjoy the rest of your day today. And until next time, bye. Oops, can't hit the button. This is for reals this time.